It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Charleston University's head equestrian coach, Coach Natasha McCarthy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into the coaching of equestrian?
Honestly, when the College of Charleston was looking for a new coach, I was really kind of just helping in that process. I didn't really think that it was going to be ultimately me down the pike, but through a mutual friend and then a connection back and forth, I found myself meeting with the AD and his whole staff, and they were at my farm. And so when the search was looking for different properties and they landed on my own personal farm, then it kind of just ran from there.
What was your college time like?
When I was in college, it was a great time. I was in college from 96 to 2000. I went to school at Hollins University. It's a beautiful campus. Has always had an amazing riding program and an extremely competitive riding program. I consider myself very privileged to have gone to Hollands.
What was it like competing at Hollands on the equestrian side?
Well, it was extremely competitive. I had a lot of great friends also that I rode against, but everybody came from really amazing backgrounds. The horses at Hollands were exceptional, so we were always able to ride just really talented, beautiful horses. And it's very fun memories of mine.
What was it like, obviously, coming up with your business, the White Horse LLC?
So actually, white horses is a term used in England. When the seas get rough in England, especially in the English Channel, the tops of the water look like white. They're like white caps, and they have coined the term, they look like white horses, like jumping out of the water. So there is an English side to me. My mother is English. I was married in England. And so for some reason that just kept and spoke to us. And when anybody is opening up a business of their own, it always seems to, you're going to have to fare the troubled waters. And white horses just stuck.
What was it like getting to work with national professional equestrian people?
Well, it's always a privilege to be working with anybody in your industry, let alone those that have had more experience than you. And it's a privilege. Horses are always evolving. They're either evolving or they stay the same and we're evolving. It's always this language and it's always this relationship that you're trying to learn and to forge. So anytime that you can work with any other professional, it's not like a competition for who can do it best. It's how can we, just strengthen the communication with horses, and how can you learn skills to teach other people that type of communication. So it's always intriguing to work with other professionals. I enjoy it.
What was it like, obviously, when you became the head coach for the Charleston University?
Well, I'm the second coach in the program's history. Our former coach, Bob Story, created the program at the College of Charleston. He had been with the College of Charleston for, I think, well over 30 years. So some large shoes to fill for sure. But it's a different culture. My farm is a little bit different. So not only where it was the facility change, the coach was changed, which was myself. I'm also a female, so there's a little bit of a dynamic too when you've got an emerging women's sport with now a women's coach who went to an all women's college. So it's been a big shift. It's been extremely fun.
What's it like obviously taking over and obviously building upon the legacy that the former coach Bob Story built?
Well, for sure. Like I said before, it's huge shoes to fill. I've clearly done my research when coming into this position, and the years of championships that are on these trophies, it's a little daunting. But I am always still up for the challenge. So I took on the team in 2018. I have to say we had a big changing year. Me learning the horses that came with the College of Charleston, some of the students that were returned student athletes, me getting to know them. I think we were on a pretty good roll, and then unfortunately COVID hit. So we've had to kind of go through the White Horses a little bit, some troubled seas, just with all the change in COVID. But I think we're starting to see the other side now, so it's exciting.
During your time, what are some of your accomplishments so far?
Accomplishments as a coach? Well, I would have to just being in a position to have the job. That to me is an accomplishment. Then, afterwards, the ribbons and the accolades, those are nice. I've had a few riders throughout the years that have been regional champions in their individual divisions. 2021, we were reserve champion in our region, and now just recently in 2022, we are the current Zone 5 Region 3 champions, and I also earned head coach of the year.
What was that like, obviously earning the ribbons and obviously earning the championships?
Well, it's the ribbons are nice, and sometimes it is a luck of the draw. Sometimes you've got a good day, maybe not your best day, but I feel like the awards that we have received, especially this year, has been a culmination of really all of the hard work, the sweat, the tears, especially the graduating seniors that have been with me for the past 4 years. They're starting to see like the fruits of their labor.
What does a typical equestrian day look like?
Well, me being a business owner, I start very early and I end very late. I have over 30 horses here at White Horses in my care. So as much as I would love to be riding horses all day long, that's actually just the cherry on the top. I do manage 5 people who work for me, and all the organization of just the schedules and the payrolls. But an equestrian student athlete at the College of Charleston, well, they practice a few times a week. They've got workouts weekly with their team, but you're outside in the element, and you're caring for animals that never learn to feed themselves. They never really, so to speak, grow up and take care of themselves. So it's a lot of responsibility. You have to have a passion for it, for sure.
What does a typical competition day look like?
So at a competition day, let's just say that we've traveled somewhere. Recently we've been bringing some horses to help put in the horse show pool, so to speak. But a student athlete, for example, would travel. They would go to the draw table after registration, and they literally pick a horse out of a hat. They state their name, they put their hand in the pot, they pick a horse out, and hey, that day they're going to ride Charlie. So then it's all about learning what Charlie goes like and how you can get on Charlie and make him perform in less than 2 minutes and get a high score. So that's exciting. That's different with collegiate riding versus like when you say you're growing up riding as an individual. Typically you have that relationship with your horse, right? And I've already spoken about that, how the riding is a lot of communication. Well, now in the college setting, you have to immediately put all of your skills that you've learned, all of your languages, and go speak a foreign language with somebody else that you've never met before. So it's exciting. So some of the equestrians, they jump, and some of them flat, which means walk, trot, canter. They are being judged by someone else, so it is subjective. But again, if you've got consistency in your riding, then you're going to be pretty much a crowd favorite with any judge, unless something completely goes wrong, with your horse. But yeah, when we horse show, if we go to a horse show, we'll start maybe at 9 in the morning, and we'll finish at 4 o'clock by the time we've gotten through all the classes.
Of course, what is that like, obviously, when knowing that you have the horses that you train with, but then also you may have the horse that you grow up with that got you to where you were at Charleston?
So it's definitely a change, and some student athletes are pretty good at it, and some struggle a little bit because they're coming from a situation where they've known, and now they have to learn to be good at something foreign. So it's a little against the grain, and like I said, some riders, they have just a natural talent of just getting on and not interfering with the horse. Really the competition time in the ring is not the time to train the horse. It's to demonstrate the best attributes that you and your horse have together. That's the whole point of it. Some riders will get into the competition ring and try to train on a horse and try to prove why they're wrong and they're right. And that they miss the point with that. So that part can be a little struggle for a few.
What is it like, obviously, balancing your business of White Horse LLC and also being your coach at Charleston?
It's a great question. I put in a lot of hours. I definitely have 2 jobs. I have private clients here at White Horses LLC that have been with me for many years, or I've got new clients that are just coming on board. I have about 16 to 18 private clients, in addition to 12 horses that are boarded here from the College of Charleston, and the team has about 35 student athletes. So never a dull moment. Obviously, I love what I do, so that's a good thing, because there's a lot of hours spent juggling both, and working with many personalities, and then also some things that are completely out of your control. So you have to have the ability to, I would say, be fluid, hardworking, and maybe a smidge of sense of humor.
Who are some of the teams that you compete against?
So in our region, we compete against Clemson, Furman, Lander, Converse, University of South Carolina, and University of South Carolina, Aiken, Wesleyan, Wofford, basically in the South Carolina area, Georgia Southern as well.
What is that like, obviously, competing against teams like Clemson and South Carolina?
Well, the interesting thing actually is that College of Charleston is a D1 sport. So we are a varsity D1. It makes it interesting because most of the schools that we compete against are clubs. So even though like Clemson and Carolina are clearly fantastic football schools, and they all have D1 presence with sports, their equestrian program is not quite D1. So without maybe tooting the horn here, we're a bit of a powerhouse in our region just because again, we've got so much support from the College of Charleston.
What does a typical game day look like when obviously going to Clemson and South Carolina versus going like to Wofford?
So game day typically, would be, again, if they've asked me to bring horses, I've brought horses for them to, use. Some of my student athletes are able to ride them when we arrive. That gives us an advantage to get in the ring and get into the saddle. Then, the next day basically happens. We have the draw, and we go about the classes. I'll have to say the talent at the College of Charleston is quite rich. So it's exciting to put any of my riders on a roster because I just know they're all going to do a great job. So we typically seem to kind of give maybe some other teams a run for their money.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to go into equestrian?
For sure. So since we are a D1 NCAA sport at the College of Charleston, you need to be registered with the NCAA. And follow all other type of recruitment protocol that any other D1 sport would have. So that would mean, emailing the coach, which would be me, having the ability to have those conversations, being eligible, so to speak. And then what would happen is that videos are sent and correspondence has begun. We also do collegiate camps here at White Horses. So sometimes the students might have had the ability to come and do a recruiting camp and just kind of learn about what a team like the College of Charleston is like. So once that relationship is forged, like I said, videos are sent. Obviously, the student has to get into the institution. So, you have to be accepted by the College of Charleston. Once you have been accepted and you've decided to go to the College of Charleston, then if I feel that it's like a no-brainer, you are absolutely meant to be on this team, I will go ahead and issue an NLI, which is a national letter of intent, and we would do like a commitment, so to speak, before you would even come to school.
What does the official visit look like for those prospective equestrians?
So we typically are all considered unofficial visits. The prospects will kind of come when they are touring the school. They'll email me and say like, hey, coach, do you mind if I come out and tour the facility? Love to meet you if you're there. Sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm not. That's why we consider it basically an unofficial visit. Horses you're all over the place. So, again, I'll give them a tour. I'll talk about, the facility. Some of the same questions that you've asked as well. A day in the life. How many times do I ride a week? What other activities, are the team involved in? We talk about grade, the GPA. For you to be traveling, you need to be having at least a 2.5. Sports are awesome, but I think everybody agrees, especially at the College of Charleston, that you're a student first, an athlete second. So for us, I really try to hit that home that, yes, you want to come here because it's a great facility and the program's awesome, but it's got to be school first. So that's basically what we talk about in an unofficial visit.
What are some of your future plans for the equestrian program for Charleston?
So some future plans, obviously, with maybe some additions to the facility. Some new horses. We carry about 12 on our roster, so it's always part of my job to kind of replenish the horse flesh and bring new horses on that are a little bit more able. Obviously, we're looking at all different ways to compete. If there's any other additional competition experiences that we can send our student athletes to, we're open for that. So now that I've got my 4th year, so to speak, under my heels, and hopefully a little further past COVID, we'll have more flexibility and ability to get out on the road a little bit more and compete more.
Of course, when bringing in horses for equestrian, what are some of the differences between a regular horse that you may ride versus an equestrian horse that you could compete against?
So some of the students have asked if they can bring their own horses. Now, yes and and no, so to speak. Our discipline is considered hunter jumper. So for you to do our discipline, these horses need to be, jumping at least 3 feet high, and performing all the flat work, which is walk, trot, canter, and counter canter, and halt, and turn on the haunches, and all that good stuff. So if the girls are coming in for this team, then they are going to have a concentration in the hunter jumper discipline. So, yeah.
What advice would you give prospective student athletes looking to go into college equestrian?
My advice would be ride anything that you can get on, whether it's a super fancy horse, whether it's a top-notch equitation horse, whether it's a hot thoroughbred jumper. It doesn't matter, because we have all different types of walks of life as far as horses that are on our roster. And the whole question is yes, we all know that you can ride well. That's why you're here. But how versatile can you be in 2 minutes without a warm-up? Our format does not allow for a warm-up. So cold turkey, can you hop on and go get the job done? So the biggest piece of advice I could lend is to ride as many horses as possible and document that.
What advice would you give to college equestrians looking to go on the professional level?
Well, professional, level is not for everybody. You really have to have the ability to not only work with horses, but also to have pretty strong people skills, because this is also a business. So the ability to have clear communication skills, the ability to make decisions, the ability to handle really tough situations. You play vet, you play insurance agent, you play car salesman, you play teacher, all in this one role. So like I said, being a professional is not an easy task. It is a rewarding one. But if you have the ability of being the rider and the business person as well, and can negotiate, then I would imagine you would be successful.
What advice would you give those future college coaches looking to get into the sport of coaching college lacrosse equestrian?
Well, everybody's going to start somewhere. And, equestrian is a very specialized sport, obviously. So, be patient, have the ability to be fluid. I would take any kind of job that you could probably get your hands on because they're pretty coveted. Once you have your job, for example, our former coach, Bob Story, was in his shoes for 30 years. So once you get it, try not to lose it. That's my biggest advice.
Of course, where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Charleston University's equestrian program?
Well, we're all on social media. We're College of Charleston Equestrian on Facebook and on Instagram, and as well as cfcsports.com.
Thank you again for your interview and best of luck in your future in the equestrian program.
Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it. You too.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Natasha, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.